Josh,
Hello.
can you hear me okay?
Very good. How are you, Sam?
Well, just had a long trip to the East Coast, got back late, what was it? Uh, Thursday night. Yeah, so I've had one day here back already. So,
Oh, wow.
are you Mountain Time?
I'm on Pacific Standard Time. I think you're up north of Seattle, right? You're
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so we're in the
okay.
same time zone, yes.
Yeah, when you said you're getting tea, I was like, okay, I'm almost halfway through the coffee.
No problem. Anyway, thanks for your thoughts. Thanks for reaching out. You know, it's been a long time since we've met each other, but we've never had a one-on-one, so this is cool.
No, me too. I'm really appreciative because I've been working on a project I've been working on many projects, but trying to have a common thread in between them all, which is 100% transparency. And everyone says, oh, that sounds great. And then when it actually comes down to, oh, let's record this. Like right now, I see you recording it and I'm saying, let's record it and let's record every conversation moving forward. And everyone's like, well, hold on here.
No, I'm with you on that. I think, people are afraid of showing mistakes or being embarrassed, but hey, I think that's part of being human. I got lots of imperfections and mistakes that are already recorded, even just in GCC alone, not to mention all the other places that I show up. So
Yeah.
I think it's part of, if it's possible to watch that growth, say, oh, look at that gaff. And then a year later, oh, he made that gaff a year ago, but this time he kind of was able to sidestep that, so that might be an interesting example to hopefully portray. But there's a lot of other examples, so it's all part of being human. It's all part of us all trying to do our best.
Yeah. It's very deep too. It goes, and when I say deep, I mean philosophical and technological, because when we first started on social media, I would say around 2003, 2004, GeoCities, MySpace, and I was in a group called tribe.net.
Mm-hmm.
I was aware as a computer guy that everything would be captured for infinitum on the internet because I've been making websites in the 90s.
Yep.
So I was thinking, everything I post, that's there forever. So I've had that mindset for a long time. And I think a lot of people are just now realizing that.
Well, subject to storage media, and now if we've got the ability to encode things in DNA or elsewhere, glass, whatever, it looks like our temporal range might be extending somewhat. So yeah, I mean, before it was a few months or weeks, you remember floppy disks and how the oxide would come off the floppies, so
yeah,
they weren't guaranteed for much more than a few years, but things progress.
Just to do my last retro member berries or whatever you call it. The first Sony camera I had a hard, little 3 1/4, 1.6 megabyte.
I remember those.
I was so stoked to have that camera. That was like, cost me $1,500. And I was just like, wow, I have a digital camera. This is like amazing.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story then, and you tell me what year the story happened in, okay? I used to be a hobbyist. I used to put together my own computers. So there used to be a standard called IEEE 696, which was the interconnect bus standard for boards that could plug into this kind of personal mainframe, okay? So I once was so happy to spend only $750 for 256K of memory on a board that was about this big, okay? This big, yeah. So if you draw Moore's law curve or whatever, what do you think that year was?
That year would have been 1990.
No.
What year is that?
Much earlier than that.
Okay. Then you paid too much. No, sorry.
No. What I'm saying is, 1990. No, I'm sure by 1990, memory was cheaper than that. I'm saying $750 for 256K.
Oh wait, you said 256K. Yeah, I was thinking 256 megs.
Yes, that's exactly right. So yeah, 256K. This is probably around 84, 85, maybe even 83, but it was really early on.
Yeah, I'm a little bit younger than you, I guess, because I had the Commodore VIC-20 back then. I had we first had the VIC-20 and then I got the 64.
That was around, but I had already stuck my head into IEEE 696, and that was the route I was headed in, you know?
Well, I missed it because as a kid, I grew up in Cambridge, right between MIT and Harvard.
Yeah.
So I was in Central Square.
Hmm.
And my mom sort of fell into this group of people that decided that homeschooling was okay.
Yeah.
Because I refused as a child to go to school. I just thought school was stupid.
Because you went, or because you didn't even want to go?
Because I went in second grade and we got to play with blocks. And then in third grade, we got taken out of the fun area and we had to sit in a desk and go 3 times 3 is 9.
Yeah.
3 times 4 is 12. And I was like, fuck this. This is stupid. We have calculators. I was like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I told my teachers to fuck off. And then they made me sit there with my head down on a desk for a year.
In third grade, you told them that?
Yeah.
That's funny. So now we get to, get on Zoom and play with our mental blocks. Okay. That's what we're doing now.
Yeah. So now where I'm at is I'm realizing all these conversations, including the one we're having right now, if you post it to YouTube, automatically goes to the machine learning of Google. And that machine learning is going to help the computer learn about humans so we can use it as an assistive tool. I'm being positive, not, Terminator style, but we can use it as an assistive tool to help to create better lives for people, to assist.
Yeah. I mean, those potential clearly exist. And so we have to decide whether or not Google is still living by their do no evil principle, right? And
they're looking. No, they're looking. Yeah. It's there. I know. I work with Google. They're looking at it because they have to scrub it to make sure there's no penises or no this or no that. So they're scrubbing it. It's in the machine. The machine.
Well, then we're going to get a bunch of artificial intelligence that think that humans don't have penises and don't have vaginas,
That's going to be hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know. I suspect there are other sources they're going to learn that from.
That's funny. Well, instead of getting all heady, I just wanted to take it down to something in more reality standards, which is those 4 principles that you wrote down. Yeah. I think they're like this close to being perfect. They're like 85 to 90% dead on. And
cool.
The 2 things that really resonate with me is the transparency part and the holding yourself accountable to 2 of your peers.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, how do you define your peers? Meaning, to me, I think of it as like almost an AA sponsorship, but with 2 sponsors.
See, I'm glad you asked that. I actually don't think of it that way, because AA sponsorships, okay, I admit I don't really know about AA sponsorships, so I'm probably speaking out of school. Although my wife...
Neither do I. I've never been an alcoholic, so...
Okay. So without additional references, my understanding is, though, that you're kind of almost at arm's length with AA sponsors because you don't even theoretically know their last names, right?
Mm.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic, but I don't give my last name, right? So I don't know if, obviously, some relationships go deeper than that, but at least, that's the structure in which it's set up. For me, I'm thinking about people who love you and know you well enough that they can say, hey, Josh, I want you to take a look at this, and not be afraid that that's going to ruin the relationship. And that you trust them and love them enough to know that they're acting on your best behalf, so that you're not going to say, fuck off, you're just full of shit. You will actually listen to people who love you enough to sort of help you course correct in your execution. That's the kind of loving and respecting and, accountability that I'm trying to find and model. And I admit that's not easy to find. Many people don't have that. Some don't even have that with their parents. Some may have that with their siblings. Some may have that with like best men, etc. But sometimes that's rare. And when I ask people, do they have such people? Most people initially say yes. But then they actually think, well, if I say this, are they really going to push back at me? And if the relationship is so tenuous, that's not what I'm suggesting happen. I need to be able to say to you, hey, Josh, that thing you said to Anna, or that thing you said to Tammy, can you really take a look at this and see if it was in everyone's best behalf? That's the level of which I think I would like to see interaction happen. The superficial stuff happens all the time anyway. Oh yeah, Josh, you were good. You showed up. I'm glad you were there. You showed presence, blah, 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 blah. That's not really going to help you course correct. I mean, it's all true, right? But I want people to go the next layer and say, Josh, how come you waited 3 minutes to, tell Tammy that, okay, when whatever, okay? So I don't want to use too many specific examples, but I do want to indicate that it's not, in my mind, an AA kind of model where you're kind of helping people just walk through the 12 steps and reread certain sections of a book and sort of lead what, in my mind, and this could be entirely wrong, is a semi-well signposted path from step 1 to step 12. There are obviously many branches, but there's kind of this destination in mind. But what I'm thinking about is, if I say to you, here's what being good means to me, okay? And then you say, without much judgment, obviously there's going to be some, but without much judgment, implying that, oh, that doesn't correspond to me, rather than doing that, you take a look at my list of things and my execution of my life and say, do the two line up? Through my own imposition of my values and principles, not through yours, not through somebody else's, not through God's, but through what I said I would do, and hold me accountable to what I'm saying. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm not going to pick you if you're like 180 degrees opposite from me, where you'd like to be throwing, bombs into, Carmel, Washington, or Carmel, California, and I want to be like, attending, dinner parties and stuff like that. If we're that different, we're probably not going to clump together in these little triangles or little COI groups. But I'm thinking that even if we are really appreciating each other, there's still going to be some really interesting differences. And I'm encouraging each of us to really get to know each other well enough that for me to be of best service to you is not to apply my values to how you're living, but it's to apply your values to how you're living. That's the deep rocking that I was kind of trying to refer to.
So almost like we're life coaches for each other, but no one's above you.
Exactly. There's no sense in which, I'm better than you, you're better than me. We're just helping each other along. Because in some dimensions, I can help you. In some dimensions, you can help me. And why think about things in, peer or mentorship?
I'm right there with you. Right? Everyone that's ever worked with me has always left because I told them either A, if it was a company, take my job. That's the way I've always done management. Mm-hmm. If you're working for me, you should want to be me. Like, in other words, if you're at the bottom of the totem pole, you come in sweeping the floors at my company, you should eventually rise the ranks of management to the point where you are me. You're taking my job, the head of the department. If I'm the head of the department presently and I can hire and fire, you should either want that, or maybe that's not your ambition. That's fine. But at least gain the skills along the way. I should be training you enough to one day where you can take my job. Otherwise, I'm not a good manager, in my opinion.
I would further go and describe it that if they really want to understand you, that they understand why you do what you do. Not that they want to do it, but they would understand why you do things the way you do it, right? According to the structure and principles that you laid out for yourself, right?
And if you think you can do it better, by all means, help me and tell me, because that's the first thing I learned in management is I thought I knew everything and I had it all down. And I was breaking records and making the company money. And then I realized, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm winging this shit. I'm 21 years old. I don't know what I'm doing. So there's got to be people out there that know better than me and teach me. So.
Yeah, talk about first management experience. It was like 1985 when somebody offered me a department manager position in some tech company. And I was having too much fun just doing the tech job, learning this, learning that, writing software. But then I said no. But then the guy said something like, okay, well, now you're going to be working for this person. And then I said, okay, I don't want to be working for that person because that person doesn't really know what to do in this job. And all my other 12 or 13 people that I'm working with would also have to work with that person. So in a sense, it was kind of a reluctance decision to say either I take that position and do a bad job of it and try to learn, or I let that person do it and let them do a bad job and learn, and which is a likely scenario for better success and happiness. Then I finally decided, well, let me try that. Okay.
It's a hard decision too, because I learned that sometimes going up the ladder in responsibility is just a crappy life because you're responsible for all your work plus everybody else's. It's so hard.
Yeah, and you don't have 100% control over it anymore, you know? So that's where all that trust.
Even if you're the CEO, you don't have control. No matter, like, that's the other thing I learned in business is the president of the company sued the vice president and screwed up our whole company because they were both vying for control of the company. I mean,
yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, it's. I think we both agree that the best control is. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to ask you. I'm more of a Taoist that way. Like the leader should step away.
Yeah. And when he does a good job, everybody thinks they did it themselves, right? Sorry, you dropped.
That's what Lao Tzu says.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Can you still hear me?
You dropped out there for about 5 or 6 seconds, but now you're back.
Okay, I'm on Google Wi-Fi, so it's calibrating. I'm walking around the property. I'm trying to get to a spot where I can sit down for 10 minutes and hold on 1 second. Let me see if it calibrates here. All right, how are we right here?
It's pretty good right now.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Google Wi-Fi is amazing. So I was just saying Lao Tzu, that's, what he says. And I think if you live in a place where Taoism is accepted, it works. In the Western culture, people think you're lazy, not leading.
That's right. Yeah, they don't recognize the subtlety with which some of the group dynamics can be done. And if they don't think you've got action items, being knocked off and reported on a weekly basis, you're quote unquote not productive. So yeah, exactly. I've seen that a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's. I don't work very well in the Western world. It doesn't work for me.
I've certainly hit a ceiling myself, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. So cool. Well, let me ask you one other question, just because it's been on my head. What is an ICO? You said the ICO group. I saw that in your document. I don't know what ICO stood for.
You mean the COI?
Oh, COI. Okay. Excuse me. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah. No problem. The COI for me is a group of people who've decided to adopt these practices. And the fourth bullet, by the way, is to seek out others who are holding themselves accountable in such a way, because those are people with whom you may be able to establish either friendships or working relationships or, alignment possibilities where there might be better trust and a better sense that if there is some disagreement or miscommunication, both of them, by being so accountable to each other, are likely to converge with some positive result. Whereas if people are not holding themselves accountable and certainly not sharing, what they think good is or how they think they're doing good, then that's not quite so easy for people to see and really question and really understand. Some people are squirrely that way,
Mm-hmm.
And what good means could be like very fluid in certain situations. Now, obviously people grow, people realize different things as days go by. But if you've got that path that's marked out and that you're trusting with a close group of peers or friends or, the community, then at least there's an opportunity for people to say, oh, I understand what you mean by doing good, and you understand what I mean by doing good. And there's enough there that we could actually try and do something together or just loosely mutually support each other. That, I think, is a perfect way to start. I think expecting to start by working very closely before one gets to know another is a big mistake. That's one of the big lessons I've learned through thinking about this thing called collaborology, is too quick to align and to resonate and to form a partnership and to get into some kind of a contractual situation. If you do that too quickly,
yep,
as autonomous, independent entities, that's almost always guaranteed to result in misunderstandings and miscommunications. If you don't take the time to really understand, hey, what do you really want to do? What's really important to you? Blah, blah, blah. That's why, Japanese get together and have 3-hour dinners and, see each other get drunk, stupid, and silly to really get to know each other before they go into a conference room. And Western businesses don't understand that.
Mochidon.
Contracts, and say,
yeah,
okay.
No, of course.
Yeah.
It's I think with anything, I mean, I come from a music background, and I feel like I can meet someone at a music show, or they can invite me to dinner, and I like them. I meet their wife or their, family, but I don't know them until I jammed out, until we just picked up an instrument and said, what are we going to play? And just to find out what's in their head, or if they go, I don't know, what do you want? Because some people go, oh, we're going to play this song. I wrote it in 1976, and it goes like this.
And here's your
part.
You're
like, oh, you're one of those people. You really learn about them.
That's right.
How you just...
I wrote a blog. I think I published, in 1995. It was a long time ago, called "Everything I Learned About Management I Learned as an Orchestra Conductor." And it's because,
I'd like to read that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's because from 1980 to about 1990, for about 10 years, I had an opportunity to be the kind of an orchestra conductor for a group of 10 to 12-year-olds. And it was great.
Wow.
I loved it. And even before
awesome.
that, I had taken conducting classes for 2 years with the people at Stanford University. And so I've done gigs, ever since then, much, much less intensely, but, since then. But really, to be attuned to how people are behaving, how they're contributing, whether they're falling behind, whether they're paying attention, whether they're trying to step on somebody else's idea or, overpower somebody else's contribution. I mean, all of that you got to sense as a conductor in real time, and then adjust in real time without using words,
Yep.
So there's a subtlety and an immediacy and a responsiveness that you get to develop that's unlike regular business, unlike project management even, where stuff happens on a much different time scale and contributions look different. And, even whether or not you're in sync is hard to tell sometimes,
Super hard, especially when people say one thing to your face and then behind the back to the group say another thing.
Right. Exactly. Hey, so I guess I might have forgotten, what instrument or what set of musical skills have you decided to develop?
So my instrument, I started off as a rapper, so it's the vocals, but it's vocal percussion, if you will, because rapping is more da-da-da-da-da-da-da as opposed to like holding the tone. And then one day my friend wanted to switch off, instruments and said, here, take my bass and I'm going to take the microphone. And I said, I don't know how to play the bass. So I'm still learning it. I'm not proficient at it or any means, but I can keep the rhythm, not steady. I'm not very good at the steady. I'll be honest. I go off the tempo, but I can play bass. And then I went to a blues festival and I met Joey Hoochie Coochie Palucci, this famous harmonica blues player. And I took a workshop with him. And so he said,
okay, so now your audio is dropping.
We'll just blew it out of it without note for 2 years. Oh, can you hear me?
Now you're back. So you were dropped out for about 5 or 6 seconds again. Last I heard was Hoochie harmonica player.
Yeah, this guy said he stole his brother's harmonica and just blew in and out for 2 years to learn the process of blowing before he learned the notes. So I started doing that, and I ended up learning a thing called Tai Chi harmonica. So in New York, I would perform in the subways and at Grand Central Station. I took a mini harmonica, put it in my mouth, and then did Tai Chi so they could hear the movement of the Tai Chi.
Hear your breathing, right?
Just breathing, but breathing in different volumes and different, the the tone. I'm not playing separate notes. I'm playing all the notes at once.
So do you have one of those on video?
I do actually, yeah, somewhere on
Yeah, I'd be
YouTube.
curious to see or hear that. And where did you pick up the Tai Chi? Was it Yang style? Did you do the 12? Did you do the 24?
I picked up, I did a Yin style, and I was trying to learn Yin. Yeah.
Hmm.
I picked up Yin style. I was in San Diego, and I wanted to learn Qigong, and no one was teaching Qigong, just Tai Chi. And I found a teacher in Santa Barbara who wanted to train a big guy like me for a workshop, a pushing hands workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So she needed to, to get enough people there, she needed at least, another big guy in case another big person showed up. So she taught me, we did a trade, but I didn't want to learn Tai Chi. I wanted to learn Qigong. So I said, I'll do it because you're doing Qigong for the exercise warm-ups for the Tai Chi.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of fell in love with pushing hands. I thought that was
Yeah.
the coolest thing I've ever done, because it took all the physics knowledge of learning physics mentally to actually physically feeling the physics when a 260-pound guy is pushing with all his might on your back.
Mm-hmm.
You get to know physics pretty quick.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I have still been practicing forms in Jiabao style and have only gotten
What?
just
I've never heard of
Jiabao.
that. What is?
It's a style that claims to be older than Chen style. In fact, the villages are very close together, so they have this, history feud about which is original and which is first and which is more effective and whatever. The reason that was kind of even worth mentioning is because I think around 2006, 2007, the winners of the Chinese push hands contest 2 years in a row were both Jiabao practitioners. And that's when people sort of stood up and said, what is this Jiabao? Because they'd never heard of it before. It was always Chen style or Yang style or Sun style or Wu style, but they'd never heard of Jiabao style. And intentionally, they had been very reclusive and secretive, just practicing among themselves, unlike the Yang style, which went out and just marketed and just took over the world with Tai Chi. Chen has been more, I guess, intermediate. They've retained a lot of the martial applications, but they haven't marketed as much as the Yang style guys have. Although recently both are big because now we got the internet, So
Yeah,
anyway,
I was gonna say, is Jiabao anything like Bagua? Is it?
no. Although there are a lot of practitioners that do both, I understand, but it's a much closer to Chen style than Yang style.
And what is Chen style? I'm ignorant. I have no idea what Chen style is.
Okay, Chen style is if you ever see people out there doing slow Tai Chi, but occasionally stomping and then doing these sudden,
Like a whip,
whipping
like
movement,
whipping.
or coiling, what they call coiling silk movements. That's Chen style. There's like fist thumping. There's ground stomping. There's elbowing, shouldering, whipping with your wrists and hands. That's Chen style. Whereas Yang style has taken all of that out of the basic forms and just basically concentrated on the circular movements. And so Yang style also de-emphasizes push hands, at least as far as my introduction to it. Chen style and Jiabao emphasize the push hands much, much more. Anyway, I'm still a beginner, so I'm not really an expert on any of the stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing it for, I guess, I don't know. I was 28 when I started. I'm turning 45 this month. But I'm still getting my footwork down. I'm going to be 20 years doing footwork. So I'm not going to get the upper. I was told by my teacher, don't do the upper part until you really get the footwork down.
Well, yeah, that's kind of extreme because you're then quite dedicated because most people don't follow that advice. I didn't even, take that path myself. But I think that it would be fascinating to get together and try and share some stuff because I'll share one more story. The person that I started learning Jiabao Tai Chi from is from Xi'an, China. So in Chinese Book of National Treasures, he's actually listed as a national treasure. I don't really know what that means, but there's a few thousand people only that are in that book. So his mission, he says, in coming to the United States, and he's got a few colleagues who are going, one to Australia, one to Taiwan, one to Germany. So their mission is really to train a generation of Tai Chi practitioners who can go into the UFC octagon and prove that there is martial application to Tai Chi.
Oh, I'm on this mission because I was watching, a lot of my friends are MMA fighters, and I'm watching the Tai Chi people there's all these videos lately of them getting their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, it's because the way the rules are set up. It's not because of their martial art is bad. It's the rules. They're not allowed to. I don't know the rules of MMA. I can just tell there's just something not right. I don't know. There's something not right there. It's like when Bruce Lee fought boxing style and he got his ass kicked. It's because the rules are different in boxing than in Kung Fu.
Yeah, so I think I don't know the rules either, but I think you're not supposed to bite, you're not supposed to hit somebody in the back of the head, those kind of things. You're not supposed to break somebody's fingers. And that last bit, by the way, is a real. That takes away about 20 or 25% of Tai Chi, as far as I understand. Because there's like several distances in which you encounter someone, and the closest grappling distance means that you're actually working leverage against joints. And the smallest joints, obviously, are the most effective to work. So when my instructor came to the U.S., he has a standing, this is about 8 or 9 years ago, but it's probably gone up since then. But he had a standing $100,000 contract. He said that people, and he's very familiar with this, when you're a Tai Chi instructor or a martial arts instructor, people come and challenge you all the time. It's been that way for thousands of years. So he's a standing $100,000. He said, if you can put up $100,000 to cover your medical expenses, which are likely to be necessary, then you can challenge me. Okay. And so he's gone to the Army station in Alameda, California, and taken on, obviously it was demonstration, but he's taken on 250 pound guys and put them down. And he's also gotten on the ground, with his arms crossed on his chest, had guys, put him in a pinning position and then gotten out of it. So that's why they then decided to ask him to teach Tai Chi there. So he's been doing that for a few years. Anyway, that's what I know.
Yeah, please introduce me to this guy because I like that mission. I just think it would be good for MMA and good for the sport, 5-10 years from now, for people to learn a more softer approach. I mean, it's not soft by any means, but, just to learn. The jiu-jitsu has taken over the MMA, and I think jiu-jitsu has its place. But I was practicing with a guy that did Krav Maga. Do you know this form of
the Russian style, yeah. Oh no, Israeli
and
style.
he was just Israeli, and every move was either to the neck or to my groin. Every single move was boom, boom, neck and groin, neck and groin. Yeah. I'm like, how am I gonna spar with you if you keep hitting me in the nuts and in the neck? I can't. It's not fun to spar. I mean, the fight is over before it begun. It's like, boom, right to the neck and I'm out. It was just not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's curious. So you can certainly see that some styles are definitely meant for martial application and some have been morphed, for more health kinds of applications. That doesn't say they're not valuable. They're just, different now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the story.
I was going to say my takeaway from this conversation is if you want to get two of your peers and you really want to connect with people, there needs to be exercises like playing music, doing martial arts, or doing something that's a real bonding, or even working on I try to work on small projects with people just to see their communication style, like email, telephone.
Sorry, I interrupted you, but I think if you haven't seen the spectrum of a person's behavior, from joy all the way to grief, all the way to loss of temper, if you haven't seen that, then you really don't really know someone. Now, a person could be really so in control of themselves that they never show that side to you. But if you've never seen them in those situations, which could trigger those things in most people, then you really don't really know someone.
It's true. Yep. That's what I have a business partner. We've spent 2 years arguing and now we're actually working together, but it took us 2 years of knowing each other inside and out to now we can actually run our business.
Yeah. And now you probably have a good mutual understanding and probably a good solid foundation for mutual trust. Probably not 100%, but better than most.
It's getting there. Yeah, it takes time. I mean, where we were triggering each other 3 months ago, we're not anymore. So that's helping.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
my humor, yeah, my humor was gone, and now she's cracking jokes. When I'm all serious, she's cracking jokes, and I'm like, wait, this is really serious, and she's like, yeah, whatever. And so it's
Yeah. Okay.
learning.
Yeah. So it's really cool to find the music and the martial arts mutual interests in addition to the GCC kind of interests. That's what I kind of like
Yeah,
about
it's super cool.
it's a cool place to meet people.
Hey, I wanted to share this with you since I knew that you were into music, but Google is doing a new thing called NSynth, where they're putting AI on top of the music and letting the artificial intelligence compose a little bit along with you composing.
This was a dream of Penny Nee way back in 1985, 84, 86, thereabouts. She was at Stanford. She was the wife of Ed Feigenbaum, and she was trying to use AI in creativity in art and music. So I actually wasn't familiar with Google's latest project, but now that you mentioned it, I'm going to look into it. So
Check it out. It's called Project Magenta. Yeah,
Magenta.
I'll send you a link. I put it on my Facebook the last couple of days, but it's Magenta, and then the name of the project is called NSynth. It's the letter N is in Nancy, and then synth, SYNTH, NSynth.
SYN. Oh, NSynth. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and they're just starting out. They just announced it at the Google conference last month, and it's really fun. I'm going to check it out. Everything's kind of merging in my life with AI is sort of creeping into every aspect of my life. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, I got to embrace this AI stuff just because, it's been popular, but it's getting going. Excuse me 1 second. My friend is...
No problem.
Okay. All right. Taking a shower, so I'm gonna have to take a shower when I get back.
I gotta do that soon too. I might actually meet somebody for brunch in about another 75 minutes or so. Hey,
Nice.
so since you mentioned AI, another piece of trivia, I spent 2 years at the Stanford AI program, the graduate AI program. Didn't actually get the degree, but took 2 years of classes there. So familiar with what the state of the practice and state of the theory was back then in the 80s. And of course, I've kept loose tabs on what's been going on. And right now, my position in my current company is to kind of push the frontier in AI and machine learning for our company's applications and technologies. So it's kind of a fun trip to sort of play around with that sort of thing right now.
Right on. Yeah, I'm at the very, very beginning. I got TensorFlow last year, never installed it, never really got into it. And then I got inspired from Aaron Petlumer, I think his name is.
Perlmutter,
that's right. I can never pronounce it. But, Aaron and I have had long talks about his studies over in England on machine learning and game theory. And most of the work I've been doing with Aaron is he's telling me about theories of games and how people should interact. And I'm telling him how they actually do from my life experiences. And it's very, very different. Game theory, I'm not a big proponent of it, but I know his brain thinks that way. Like, it's a game. So if this happens, then this happens. But, I always look at the wild card.
So yeah, this triggers one of my rants, because economics today is so based on John Nash's selfish entities game theory model that's so simple that it has nothing really to do with what humans really are. And
I agree.
That's the basis of it. That's why we've got this economy that doesn't provide us what we need, because it only thinks of us as producers and consumers, as selfish producers and consumers.
I used to teach in the high school when I was 24. I started a company that was really successful, so they let me go back to my high school. And I would bring in, the actual giant television screen. And I put in that one scene from Wall Street where he tells the shareholders that greed is good.
Yeah. Gecko.
Yeah. So, and then I would ask the students, what do you think about that? Do you think that's real? Do you think that's the way life should be? And I would let the teenagers tell me what they thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked them to fill out a form that said, what is your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years when you graduate college? What's your 10-year plan? Where do you see yourself 5 years out in the workforce? And I learned a lot from the students, what they saw the future of the economy.
Was that just a short 2-hour, 1-hour, 4-hour workshop?
It was just about an hour and a half. I think actually I did them in it was 45 minutes because I did it in a period of high school.
So I love the intent of what you were trying to do, because here's another story. When I was a junior in high school, I took a class that was meant for seniors, and I didn't know any better because I just moved to the area and just decided to sign up for it. And they took me anyway. But it was a philosophy class. It was meant to be a year-long thing, so I was in there for a whole year. And the very last month, the last 30 days or whatever number of students there were, each of us in the class had the entire class session to present what was called our credo. Credo, which is what I believe. So anyone was invited to talk about their life, their values, what they want to accomplish in life, their difficulties, the way they saw things, what they read, what they write, how they want to interact with people. And I do think that was a life-changing course for me. Because I would say before that, I probably didn't have a single original thought in my brain. And I didn't necessarily produce an original thought by doing the credo, but it got me into the process of really looking at ideas and world and values and principles and people and communication and life and years and time and that sort of thing. So I mentioned that because it's a life-changing course. I wish all kids, even adults, had an opportunity to do stuff like that. Now, many adults have, because there's this, success industry that takes thousands and thousands of dollars of your money every weekend, or, for weeks at a time, and gives you little platitudes like, you should look at your childhood, stuff like that. But yeah, I thought that class was really, really good. So I appreciate doing that, even at the age of 24, doing that.
Well, the only reason I did it is to give back to my teacher who taught me computers in 12th grade. And she was this really strange, I'm still in touch with her. She's an amazing lady, but she just learned computers in the 80s and wanted us to learn it in 1991. Mm-hmm. Garbage in, garbage out. And that one thing she told me is the only reason I got into computers. When I was, got my little DX, I forgot what it was, my 486 computer in like 93, and it would have a problem, I would think, wait a second, that problem was not something that the computer did. I did something. I put some garbage in there. So therefore I should be able to fix it. Mm-hmm. And then I finally learned that the people that program computers put in garbage.
Yeah. So much of the software industry is,
it's also ones and zeros. It's not, at the time it was, it's not as complex as it was now. Now I can't even figure things out. Now it's like magic.
Well, especially with cloud, there's a lot of magic there, because one of the problems with networks and machine learning is it's very hard for them to explain themselves. That's one of the biggest barriers to adoption for some of that stuff. But, in those cases where it's not life-threatening, it's providing enough value that we can live with those kind of results, like robots walking across the sand, on 6 legs. So what if they fail? They just destroy themselves, but I'm still okay. But other applications, where AI is like controlling your life or mine, there it's a bit more iffy about how much we're actually transferring our trust into these networks, which we have no idea how they were trained and what they're trying to optimize for,
Well, Sam, I love talking to you. I don't want to go, but I got to go pick up my friend.
No problem. Hey, don't want to go on too long, but I hope I addressed some of the questions you had. And I really welcome these questions too, because You thought about the COI ideas. I really appreciate that, and gave me feedback and allowed me a chance to respond. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, not only did I think about it, but I'm trying to put it into practice. So I'm asking people what I was trying to do is group everyone together, but now I'm ungrouping people and asking each person what their ideal team would be and helping them build their team. So going from grouping to ungrouping, but then I need a connector in between, and I'm thinking it's actually more like 3 instead of 2. So I was going to ask you and Doug to be my 2 peers, but then also have a third, which is I'm a mentor for somebody else. So there's a trialogue, a triple connection, and I'm helping you with your project. I'm helping Doug with his project. And then the third, maybe it would be someone like Aaron. I'm helping him with his Dow of Dows project. So the 3 of us, I'm accountable to you and Doug. I'm not accountable to Aaron. And Aaron's not accountable to me, but I think there's something out of this. I get more out of helping him than he probably gets out of me because he's teaching me so much. So that's.
Hey, I think the people that are in this community, if we're really expressing ourselves and what we want, are okay with shifting timeframes of receiving and giving value. We can have conversations where Doug helps me and I almost, say nothing to him because he's focused on something with me. But I find that there's a patience and a perspective where somewhere at some time, we'll be able to do something together in a very different manner. Same with Tammy, same with Anna. So same with Harry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this quid pro quo that is almost instituted by what Doug calls the current frame, really almost gives us this immediate, what can I do for that person or what can I do for me? Whereas if we're thinking more long-term community and relationship, then that is, to me, less of an issue. That there's this trust that we're building something together,
Yeah, exactly. And let me be clear. I don't want to do quid quo pro. Yeah. I really don't want to. I don't like that. My spiritual beliefs is just you give to give, not to receive. You just give. But what I do want to do is when I'm talking to you, taking notes about your thing that you're doing. And if you're committed to transparency, saying everything that we're doing, this is open source, you can share this with other groups. I feel like those little nuggets of information are like, that's the real value. That's the Bitcoin, if you will. And then in that little base camp model, you can copy or move information. So if we're working on something and it works really well, you can say in, a couple seconds, boom, boom, boom. Now that's shared across the board with all the other groups.
Yeah.
Whether it helps them or not, it's at least there in their toolbox and they can use it or not use it. And maybe out of 10 groups you share it with, 2 groups go, you know what? That really helped me on my project because you guys thought about it. Yeah. That's where I'm coming from.
So one last thought before you go, and I'm sorry, I'm going to add another 30 seconds, but if you notice in the transparency of the COI principles, I say within this circle of trust, within the COI, because even though I and you probably are comfortable enough sharing it more broadly, I don't expect everyone to immediately feel that way. So I'm thinking that if we keep this within this COI, at least to start with, people will feel more willing to try this, as opposed to saying, everything I'm saying is going to be like absurdly.
Can I ask you real quick, what does COI stand for again?
Community of Impact. I'm not sure it's a good name, but that's what I've been calling it.
Okay, fair enough. I'm calling it, your COI is my Compassionate Technology Collective.
Okay, so let's really plug these together and explore the tendrils and where they connect and, where, interestingly, they might actually still not yet connect. That would be a fascinating conversation.
Let's do it. And I want to also I've realized to get someone into the COI is a commitment, and I want to do an actual dollar amount, something nominal like a cup of coffee, $5 a month. But that allows for a signing of an agreement, an exchange, a transaction, and if they're not committed to those things, then they can just leave. And they'd be happy to leave if they, if they're not into it.
Yeah. So, by the way, an interesting conversation that I'm hoping we have at some point would be around what I'm calling a CCC, which is this unilateral invitation to collaborate. So I don't know if you've come across that yet, but that's something that I'd like to talk to you about at some point. It's referenced in the
I'd
COA,
like that.
by the way.
Yeah, I'm at the place right now where I need to get this form created, where people have to fill out that form, because I'm inviting people to come in as alpha testers, and I'm out of alpha test now. I'm ready for beta test.
Okay.
So let's do that. Let's.
Anyway, I know you got to go. So good conversation, Josh. Thanks for reaching out. Let's do it again.
Yeah, my pleasure. You made my Saturday morning, man.
Okay. You too. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Mutual. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.